This video doesn't really have a script. This is something that's coming from my heart. Today we're going to be talking about the silent power of being an abuse survivor. God, there's so many different narratives we are told regarding abuse, the various formats of it, what it means to the victim and the perpetrator. Therapy and therapeutic language can do so much to pathologize a situation, right? We can diagnose what's going on, but it's rare for me to see a forum where abuse survivors and trauma survivors are just able to accept what they feel without any label to be necessary, right? When it comes to therapy and situations like this, there's this strong need of an exaggerated sense of justice, because it creates that polarity of this person was right, this person was wrong, or this person was abused and this person is the abuser. And as much as that helps for, people like me, because I tend to be somebody who plays into the narratives people write about me, it's nice to have that strict binary be written out. But a lot of us abuse survivors, I think, struggle with this black and white thinking because it does more to harm the situation than anything else. And so when we see ourselves as the abused and the other as the abuser, we don't have any sort of mechanism to explain any possible attachment to the abuser, any possible love or care or desire to forgive the abuser. And then as for ourselves, there's no room to explain what more we can be outside of being someone who is hurt. We aren't given the framework to see ourselves outside of the situation. What I've learned from understanding your sense of self is that abuse patterns are inherited. This is not to say that, this is something that is deterministic and you were always written to be hurt or harmed. That's literally not at all what I'm saying. I'm trying to say that a lot of the behavior you see being projected onto you is something that might have existed in your family line for years. And so there's so much power in your willingness to name it abuse, because I'm sure there are many people in your ancestry that couldn't, wouldn't, and were said that they shouldn't name what was going on. That on its own is indicative to me that you're breaking a pattern. That's power in real time. We're always taught that, in order to feel autonomous and free from our past storylines or trauma, we are meant to create some spiel that feels very symbolic. Who's to say that your simple being and existence is not just as impactful? Especially for people who are abuse survivors, we don't need to feel as though we must flip the tide in order to feel like we've done something revolutionary. You simply clicking on this video is revolutionary. You're willing to name what's going on, and that is power. You're willing to put language to what you're feeling. It's something that is glazed over a lot, but I know that I've had a lot of experiences where this black and white narrative of abuser and the abused creates this desire or expectation that something monumental must be done on either end to feel the significance of it. And that can go for both ways, honestly. Abuse has to look a certain way in order for it to be categorized as abuse, and the abuser must reclaim their power in a certain way that's loud in order for it to be named as a true release. And that expectation holds us back because we don't begin to explore just how powerful our simple act of naming is. I see that the silent power of abuse survivors is also often seen in the simple way of interacting with yourself. In the face of great danger and demeaning, if you've taken the courageous act of loving yourself unconditionally, that is pure power. I don't understand why we put so much emphasis on what we are doing to fight back against the abuse, because a lot of times it makes someone like me, an abuse survivor, feel I'm not doing enough. I'm not putting my foot down and saying enough is enough. But then I realized that in a household where I was taught to be silent, to ignore myself and forget myself in the name of others, my simple remembrance of myself is a radical act. That is power. You choosing to prioritize yourself, whether it's made known to those around you or those who are abusing you or not, is revolutionary. Because abuse survivors are often forced to live in their minds all the time on a high alert, always trying to pinpoint what it is they might be doing that could attract this abuse, because we've always been made to feel like we are the problem, that there's something that we're doing that is wrong or unorderly that is causing this behavior to come towards us. So when you make that change in real time of saying, no, I know who I am and I love myself unconditionally, without bounds, no matter what my circumstances are, no matter who is in my life and what they see me as and how they treat me. And if that is even existing simply in your mind, that is an act of rebellion, and it is enough. That is powerful. Stepping into your power doesn't have to look like some cinematic moment where you feel everyone's eyes are on you and, this is like a coming of age movie. No, stepping into your power is a simple act of intention. I mean, trauma survivors and abuse survivors need to hear this more, because we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't. A lot of it is learned, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of our tendencies to discount ourselves is very much learned, because our nervous system figures out that demeaning ourselves before other people is its feeble attempt to protect itself. And our body is just trying to survive. Right? So I'm not going to blame our bodies, because this is the sacred temple that has kept us intact. The last thing I want to mention as, a representation of the silent power of abuse survivors is the desire to become someone different. And this is more in pertinence to the fact that a lot of times when we go through these situations of hardship and complete demolition of the self, your brain will do one of two things. It will sort of flip the script and become the person that undoes this abuse and doesn't allow it to carry further. And other times, the brain will become the perpetrator. You're most likely not making that choice. I can just tell. I can feel your energy, and I know that you've decided in your head that the cycle stops with you. Do you realize just how earth-shattering that is? You've gone through pain. You've gone through complete destruction of your integrity and your dignity, and you still decide that you would never repeat this cycle and you would never inflict this damage onto anyone else. Do you understand the level of self-awareness that takes? I'm like tearing up right now, because I feel your energy through the screen, and I can tell that there's a reason why you clicked on this video, and it's because you know that this timeline of abuse ends with you. And you know what? At that point, it's not even silent power. That is power in real time. Fully actionable power. You are so much more revolutionary and radical than you think you are. I think abuse survivors need to be reminded more often than not that their simple act of existence is an act of rebellion. In spaces where people are asking you to make yourself small, make yourself disappear, you continuing to exist is powerful. The only way I see these cycles of abuse ending is by us continuing to do these acts of silent power. Because honestly, sometimes they do more than the extravagancy of what we are taught to believe power looks like. Because the silent power is what deconstructs the foundation upon which abuse is built. Silent power is that which cannot even be perceived by the abuser, because they are not on that wavelength, that vibration. And I'm gonna end this video just by saying that there's nothing you have to do to prove yourself, to feel as though you deserve the right to feel safe, to feel sovereign and autonomous. For too long, I felt like I had to prove myself in order to deserve these basic human conditions. And then I realized I don't need to justify. I don't need to defend myself. I don't need to extend anything more than what I feel is necessary. I'm exactly who I think I am. And I think I'm powerful, courageous, intuitive, introspective, and unwilling to disappear in the face of abuse. And I know that's exactly who you are. I hope this video reached you where you're at and translated everything that I was trying to get across. The bottom line is that I want you to know, oh my God, I just need you to know what your simple act of being does. We live in a society where we are taught how to abuse each other from a very young age. The systems in which we operate in, capitalism, imperialism, colonialism, are all a macrocosm form of what abuse looks like. And you're experiencing it on an individual level. You are the literal proof of how exploitative our society is. And you are literal proof that it can change, that we can be sovereign, we can be aware of what's going on to us and change that narrative. I believe in you. I love you. And if there's anything that you want to discuss with me, you can email me, you comment down below. I'm so grateful to be in your presence, and I'm so grateful that you clicked on this video today. Subscribe to my channel if you want more videos from me, and comment down below how you're feeling. I just want to know how you are. I'm sending you so much love and light, and thank you for being here. Bye.